Part 1. A Warrior's Path. Chapter 1. Where the Cold Winds Howl. Long before they sang her name in battle halls, before the war chants, the mead-soaked glory, and the storm-born fury of Astrid Ironsong, there was only snow, steel, and the cry of a hammer striking home. Astrid was born in the village of Brandvik, where the sea kissed the cliffs and the wind bit through bone. Her father, Bjorn, was the village smith, a broad-shouldered man with hands like iron and a voice like thunder. He forged blades for hunters, tools for farmers, and stories for a daughter who never quite stayed still or quiet, always singing happily to herself or humming a lullaby her mother used to sing when she was little. While others huddled near the hearth, Astrid climbed rooftops to chase the stars. When she wasn't stealing extra rations of stew or starting fights with boys twice her size, she was in the forge, watching sparks fly like fireflies as her father shaped steel and sang old songs. "You've got fire in you," he'd say, ruffling her braid. "But even fire needs to learn its shape." She'd grin. "Then make me a sword, and I'll shape it myself." Chapter 2. Fire Beneath the Snow. The morning began like any other in Brandvik. Frost on the windows, smoke curling from thatched roofs, and the rhythmic thud of Bjorn's hammer ringing out across the village. But the wind held its breath that day, and the gulls circling the cliffs were nowhere to be seen. Astrid noticed it first. The quiet. A stillness in the air that made her stomach twist. She stood near the forge, a half-stolen flatbread still warm in her hand, when the horn sounded. Not the clean, sharp call of a hunter's return. This was deeper, dissonant. It groaned like a beast in pain. Then came the shouting. "Raiders!" Her breath caught. The black sails broke the horizon like blades. She saw the figures, hard men, faces masked with bone and fur, their longships slicing the fjord like wolves through snow. Bjorn stormed out of the forge, hammer still hot from the flame. He didn't hesitate. "Astrid, get inside. Now." But she didn't move. Couldn't. The heat of the forge still clung to her clothes, but a deeper fire burned in her chest, something primal, something that wouldn't let her run. And then the world turned red. Houses were set alight, the air filled with the scent of burning pine and blood. Villagers screamed, scattered, fought, and fell. Astrid stood frozen until she saw her father in the center of it all, striking like a storm. He took down one man with a blow that shattered bone. Then another. Then an axe caught him from behind. Time slowed. She watched her father crumple to his knees, the hammer slipping from his grasp as if it, too, had lost its strength. And without thinking, she ran to him, through fire, through fear. She was only a girl, but in that moment, she stopped being a child. Chapter 3. The Hunt. Snow swallowed her tracks, but not her purpose. Astrid moved like a ghost through the forest, a scrap of her father's cloak tied around her wrist, the weight of his hammer slung over her shoulder. It wasn't made for war. It was a smith's tool, heavy and uneven, but in her hands it would be enough. She hadn't buried him. There hadn't been time. The flames had taken most of what was left. Her village was gone. The only thing that remained was vengeance. She followed the raiders' trail through frozen pine and bloodied snow, guided by broken branches and the occasional print pressed too deep to be the foot of prey. They had taken their time, confident no survivors would dare pursue them. They hadn't counted on her. For 3 days she tracked them. She stole warmth from dying campfires, slept with one eye open and the hammer across her chest, Hunger gnawed at her ribs. Her fingers cracked and bled in the cold, but her grip never wavered. On the fourth night, she found them, camped in a valley below, laughing over stolen meat, blood still crusted in their beards. They spoke in a language she didn't understand. It didn't matter. The sound of their joy was a blade against her skin. She crept into camp just before dawn. The first man died without a sound, his skull caved in by the hammer she'd once watched her father use to shape horseshoes. The second staggered back from the fire, shouting something, but she was already on him, eyes wild, breath steaming in the cold. By the time the third raised a weapon, her arm was slick with blood. Hair and theirs. It didn't matter anymore. All she saw was red and flame. When it was over, she collapsed in the snow, panting, the hammer slipping from her hand. She tried to rise, tried to roar again, but her body betrayed her. She fell face first into the snow, chest heaving, the heat leaving her in slow waves. Somewhere above, clouds parted. A glimmer of light spilled down between the trees, soft and golden, warming the snow around her like a hearth. She didn't see the figure watching from the ridge, wrapped in a deep blue cloak, gold brooch glinting like a star, eyes alight with quiet knowing. A whisper rode the wind. She is not ready, but she will be. Then silence returned. Chapter 4. The Winged Ones. There is a moment, just before death, when the soul unravels from the body. Some say it feels like falling through a dream. Others say it feels like home. For Astrid, it felt like fire. Not the kind that burned her village to ash, but something deeper, older. A slow burning ember in her chest that refused to go out, even as her breath grew shallow and her body froze into the snow. In the dark, she dreamed. She saw herself standing at the edge of a vast battlefield, shields shattered, banners torn, the dead laid out like stars across the earth. She was barefoot, bloodied but unbent. In her hand, a hammer. At her back, wings she did not yet understand. Above her, in the swirling sky, figures descended, silhouettes of light and steel, Valkyries. They did not come for her soul. Not yet. She awoke to the sound of wings. The cold was gone. Her skin still stung, but warmth had returned. Strange, unnatural warmth that pulsed through her veins like molten gold. She blinked against a blinding sky. A ring of warriors surrounded her. They were tall, radiant, armor etched with runes and cloaks of white fur draped across their shoulders. Some bore spears, others held blades that shimmered like moonlight, and all of them had wings, great sweeping wings of white, streaked with faint silver. One stepped forward. Her eyes were not cruel, but they held the weight of centuries. She knelt, placing a hand on Astrid's cheek. "This one does not wish to die," she said. "She does not know how," another replied. "Even now she fights." The leader studied Astrid in silence. "Then let us give her something to fight for." Astrid tried to speak, but no words came. Her voice was buried under blood and exhaustion. But her eyes met theirs, defiant and burning. The leader stood. Her face was calm, but something stirred behind it. Approval, perhaps, or recognition. "She is not one of the fallen," she said. "She is one of the rising." Then, without sound or ceremony, the Valkyries lifted her from the snow. Wings spread, the sky opened, and Astrid was carried away, not to death, but toward destiny. Chapter 5. The Mortal Valkyrie. There was no wind in the place where Astrid awoke, no sound, no sky, only stillness like the world itself had exhaled and forgotten to breathe in again. She lay on cold stone, her body weightless, her wounds sealed by something not quite magic and not quite mercy. Around her, faint lights flickered in the air, whispers of souls, lost or waiting. Astrid sat up slowly, breath shallow, vision blurred. The hammer still rested across her lap. Before her stood a woman, not a Valkyrie, not a mortal. Her skin was pale as ash, her hair black as a raven's wing. One side of her face was smooth, hauntingly beautiful, the other a hollow skull cloaked in shadow. She wore robes that moved like smoke, and her presence chilled the very air around her. "Hell," Astrid whispered, the name falling from her lips without knowing how she knew it. The goddess tilted her head. "You are not mine," Hel said softly. Her voice echoed like distant thunder beneath a frozen lake. And yet, I felt your soul cross the threshold. Astrid tried to rise. Her legs barely obeyed. "I fought," she rasped. "I'm not done." Hel smiled, not cruelly, but with something softer, sadder. "I know," she said. "That is why I stayed the hand that would have taken you." Astrid looked up, confused. "Why?" The goddess stepped closer, and the lights around them dimmed. "Because you are fire, and I have only ever known cold." Astrid stared at her, uncertain. "I see many souls," Hel said. "Millions. Most come to me broken. Yours did not. Yours came clawing and snarling, dragging vengeance behind it like a banner." The goddess's expression shifted. Curiosity mingled with admiration. "I have watched you since your village burned. I could not look away." For a moment, silence passed between them like a secret too sacred to speak. Then Hel turned. "You will not stay here. Another calls you." The shadows peeled back, revealing the Valkyries once more, hovering above the stone like starlight incarnate. One of them, taller than the rest, golden hair braided like a crown, stepped forward. Astrid still didn't know her name. Not yet. But one day, she would learn it was Freya. Hel looked back at Astrid one last time. "I do not give blessings," she said, "but I will remember you." Then, softer, almost to herself, "Come back to me when your fire dims." She paused. "Burn too brightly, and even the dead will turn to follow your light." With that, the goddess vanished into mist. The Valkyries reached out. Astrid rose, not as a spirit, not as a shade, but as the only living mortal to ever stand on the edge of Hel's domain and be sent back by the goddess herself. And the heavens took note. She was not born a Valkyrie. She became one.